start, or should I take a bite? Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Riverbank Mayor Council Budget Meeting, Saturday, February 17th. Special Sunshine State next week. Adequate notice of this meeting has been made by sending notice on December 18, 2015 to the Ridgewood News and the Record, by positioning on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Borough Hall, and filing a notice of same with the municipal clerk. I'd like to remind all members of the public that we have 3 fire exits in our council chambers, 1 on each side of the dais and 1 in the rear. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Bartoloni, will you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alex, roll call, please.
Thank you. Councilman Papaleo, Councilwoman Davis, and Councilman Aquafita are all absent with prior notice. Councilman Bartoloni.
Here.
Councilwoman Bastide.
Here.
Councilman Kimingo.
Here.
Mayor Mignon.
Here. Alan, spin your magic up there today. Come on.
Mayor, if I may, I'd like to take everybody through the position summary, starting with the log. So if everybody would turn to their position summary in your red book, in some cases it's under capital, but we'll start with the log changes that you made last week. So coming down our listing here, we had left off, let's see, okay, yeah, we had left off basically the week before with the personnel subcommittee changes, and that's all of these items here through about 72. These are some of the other changes you made. I'm not going to go through each one of them, but you'll see we have the legal, the land use board, recreation, petroleum, the natural gas. The mayor had asked me to look at the unemployment insurance, and I think we're able to reduce this by $1,000. We can't do a significant amount because last year we had our disbursements were about $36,000, so this appropriation represents about half. We have a balance of about half of this, so between this appropriation and our ending balance, we should be able to cover our expenses this year in the trust fund. But we were able to just go to the break-even point and give you back about $1,000 here. And these are some of the other items that the mayor and council and the citizens came up with: the vehicle maintenance reduction. These are all the capital changes. This was the elimination of the tires, the $5,000, and then these are all the adjustments that you make in terms of removing items or reclassifying them from capital improvement fund to bonding. So as you can see, the DPW radios eliminate the full amount under the capital improvement fund line, but put in the down payment of $88, and that's the $88 will be the effect on your budget, not this $1,750. So these, yes.
Just a quick question: the crosswalk at Way and the Interconnect, the reduction of that.
Yes, right here.
Can you just brief, why?
This.
We're going to apply. We're going to use. We have another grant to use for that.
Okay.
Just double count.
It was redundant.
Okay. Thank you.
Right. So these are all these capital changes. In this case, there was an increase on the community center line, but we then reduced it by the amount of available unexpended ordinances. So that was a plus and a minus. And these are some salary changes that took place. Going through our notes, we had an early snowstorm in December, and we did get the refund in 2018, but we can't apply it because it was a December storm. So that revenue has to go into a different pot. So we had to make a reduction of $1,960 on that storm. In addition, the mayor and council passed a resolution to provide a benefit to Joe Magiri, crossing guard. This is due by an ordinance that we have, so we have to include this in the budget, so we increased it $1,552. You directed that the library could have a 2% increase. I did meet with Dara O'Connor, the library director. They are still deliberating where they will take the increase, whether it be on salary and wages or other expenses. But for now, just so I could get the reduction into the budget, I reduced their other expense budget back to a zero. This is what they had last year, $134,663. And I increased the 2% amount onto their salary and wage line, but it will result in a reduction of what they had anticipated the salaries to be by $13,189. The reserve for uncollected taxes, slight change as you decrease your expenses, and depending on what happens with the revenue, this is a change. A little bit different than what you have on your sheet. I had to refine it for that county interlocal reimbursement. So it's just a couple $100 difference, but this is the current number now. We had a reduction from the 558 to the 555, and that's been put into place.
One more question.
Please do.
The 2% on the library, is that calculated against the budget, or is that calculated against the money that's...
The mill?
The mill.
No, the mill is still a minimum amount that is being provided. We're well over that amount. But the 2% was calculated on both their prior year salary and wage figure and their other expense figure combined.
Okay, so that's the additional money that's provided. You're giving them a 2% increase on that.
On their salary and wages and other expenses from last year.
Okay, thank you.
It's about 500 or something in salaries and 130 or 40 in the operating.
And then in double checking my numbers, as I was putting together the annual financial statement, we're required to put in the amount certified by the tax assessor as to the net valuation. This was an early preliminary number that the tax assessor had given me, and when I checked the final duplicate as certified by the County Board of Taxation, there was a change. So Maureen Murphy detailed the change for me. I have that information. It's a result of two houses that had a County Board of Taxation reductions in 2017, and for some reason the tax assessor is continuing this reduction over into 18. He's in a better position to explain the whys and wherefores of this, but it is resulting in a very slight reduction of the net valuation to us. So that's important because when we do the calculation for the taxes, it's based on the assessed value of the town.
You may want to ask Mr. Andavino just to send in a note. He doesn't need to come in. 66,000 seems like a big change for two houses.
Yeah, I have the two block lots, but I'll ask him to explain it. So that's where we are right now. Yes.
So the library has a salary and wage line of $6.7 million.
No, that's overall salaries and wages. And the mayor and I were discussing this during a prior meeting. What I like to do is I take the overall salary and wages, factor in the change, so then I can tie this number back to the budget document, because the state budget document does detail how much of your salary and wages. So whenever we make these changes, I like to tie it to the state budget document, and my spreadsheet, my salary and wage spreadsheet, will also have this as a grand total number. So I want to make sure those numbers agree with all the changes that are taking place, and I've captured everything. So that's why I do that rather than department.
No, but my point was that that's fine if I want to do it that way. but we should at least have a column or an indication how the actual line item is changed, because it makes it harder for us to go back and, like, based on that number, now, you know, you go back to the library salary line in the regular budget to see what the difference is. So those will have to tie together also. So sometimes it's hard to see it when it's in that big number. Alan said the next guy can do it that way.
Good, all right.
Here's what you said.
Yes, I did.
We all heard you.
Things are very good for future projects.
You're keeping a list, right? You can stand it down.
Okay.
Here's the key.
Exactly.
There'll be a yellow legal pad and a pen in there when you leave.
Okay, we'll come back to this. This is some perspective things that you want to look at today. You had mentioned these last week. The salt and sand line, electric and gas, telephone, water, landfill. So we can come back to these in a few moments. But just to go to the appropriations, when we factored all these log changes in.
Alan, sorry to interrupt. Can you just check, don't know if you made the change on the land use board? On the actual budget? Because it says 79, I know we reduced it to 7,000. It's not, it doesn't even have a number, it's under 21,1852. No, you have it on the log, but it's not on the,
Not in the
Yeah.
appropriations. Let me make a note on that.
it's only 900, but at this point, every dollar's gonna matter.
All right, just coming to the appropriations, the last page, to see where we're at on this. We're now down to about a $700,000 increase, 719,000, 4.68%. Salaries, 212,000 increase, 3.325%, and the rest is in your other expenses. Homeowner, now you're at $222 increase. Keeping in mind that for every $38 decrease in this overall rate, you'll need about $145,000 in additional reductions or increases in revenue.
Sorry, Alan, this way, .89, or is it 90? I can't read it. The top line, yeah. Or, yeah, that one, either one.
0.89.
.9.
A 5% increase. Okay, let's see. Capital, quick look at that. We made all of the changes. I didn't put the other R's in there yet. But you're down to $119,190 in the capital improvement fund. The overall amount now is $1,978,000. We've reduced it. Whoops. Yeah, you reduced the capital by this $1,761,000. I haven't done any updated cap calculations at this point. Mayor, when you're ready to go to the public repair maintenance line, I do have some correspondence that relates to that.
Alan, I need to check something on the spreadsheet, please. Because the calculation I'm getting for the increase is less than what, and I think it might be tied to the wrong formula. You have the .832, which is without the rut on the 2017. 2017, the top number.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It should be 8.56, what you have there. But when you use that 846, you don't get that difference. It's less than that. So I don't know whether the calculation you have where the 222 is coming up is tied into that one instead of the other one, but
No, that was probably at one point, maybe we were looking at a combined rate last year and it didn't change it, so.
voila.
Wow.
I just saved you $80.
Okay.
Way to go, Mayor.
The rest of us could go.
We'll leave.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
The only way to understand is actually try to calculate it, so it's taking me, how long? 7 years? Maybe another 7 years, I'll know a quarter of what Alan knows right now, so. 168 is still way too high, just so.
Yeah, well, a lot better than it was before.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Want to start with the...
It's also, well, the other thing is, you didn't change that valuation on the calculation, so it's gonna affect it a little bit too, right? So it's gonna go down.
What is it, 42? Yeah, here it is. Down to the 042.
Oh, okay, so it's already,
Yeah. We'll change that.
but that's, oh, go back in, sorry, Al. Go back to that. Oh, 8897, okay.
Yeah, then
Okay.
it's rounded up.
Yep.
So, you ready to start on operating on the snow line?
Yep.
We have correspondence 28. I asked John Lynch to take a look at his salt and sand line, correspondence 28, in the upper right-hand corner. Their the amount we appropriated was $42,000. It's telling us it spent the $23,526.93 out of it already, leaving $18,473. He's ordered another 100 tons for the upcoming storm, $5,611, leaving $12,862. I divided that number in half to give you an idea as to what it might be if you wanted to leave half of it for a future storm and take some of it as a reduction. It does have 250 tons in the bins, which would give you approximately 2 storms. Adding this new order, that's 3 storms. So your guess is as good as mine as to what's going to happen in the rest of
I
February
would
and March.
probably be a little up to this, you gotta push that to 7,500 for reduction.
You said he has enough for 3 storms with this new order. That's your...
He has enough for 3 storms. So the mayor's put out there reducing this $7,500.
You looking for a motion?
Yes.
All right, make a motion to reduce this to $7,500.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's 26.
Okay, if you want to look at these utilities next, Mayor, is that, you have something else?
I just want to go back to Public Works.
Okay.
Under the 263002, other Public Works function, you and I talked about it, there was $5,000 in there, we thought was for claims if we needed it. And I would recommend that we reduce the 5,000 to 25.
Sorry, what line?
It's 263002. Oh,
It's at 14?
Yes.
Am I looking at the right line? Right now it's at 14.
1440, yes.
And what do you,
In the detail, he has $5,000 in case he needs
Oh,
other tree removal, but like Al and I would discuss, sometimes we keep it in, sometimes we don't. So if we leave half of it in, he has the ability to use the crane twice, and so.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
So that was a reduction of
2,500.
$2,500.
Okay. The last one I had, Alan, is, I think we're getting 1,800 for seniors this year, from CDBG.
Yeah, let me, what line is that?
That's 273602. We usually just pull that 1,800 out.
Going to look at that.
can't reduce that even further?
No, they must have to rent for this.
You only have a few $100s left. The $328 we have left through June 30th. The application we have pending is for a wellness program. It's not for activities this year. So we did add an additional $2,000 to the $9,500 that we usually put in for them. Now, given that, and because of the grants, we really haven't spent their whole allocation for several years. Would you agree, Gita? Yeah. So,
I mean, you're looking at last year, we spent 22. The budget was 27.5, and now we're at 29.5.
right,
so-
that's my point. So would I be comfortable? Yes, as long as we understand that the new grant is for the
Yes,
wellness
yeah,
programs
mhm.
and not for the activities. That we've moved off of that, that supplement, So what would be
So
your?
Go back to 27.5, or do you want to go somewhere between?
Take the 2,000
I would
out?
say I'd go back to 27.5, because,
Yeah.
22 is previous charge. So
Make that
it's
motion.
2,000.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You get about every 25,000, $6 in tax rate, so just keep that in mind.
The,
Now, Which ones do the other couple I had recommended first?
Sure. Did you want to talk about the bus? We talked about it last week, and then we kind of let it die, right?
I was gonna see whether we could take any of it based on the.
I don't recommend you taking it out.
And then, and unfortunately, next year, we gotta fund that completely.
Completely.
It won't be
Right.
CPG eligible. Anyway, switch that out. I was gonna, all right, I'll have to verify this, but everything under account 263052, which is our recycling. It's all items directly related to recycling, based on the title, and if you look at the detail, and all that could be paid from our recycling trust fund. So I was going to recommend that the whole 6,166 be taken out of the recycling trust fund. That's what it's for, and reduce this line item here.
Yeah, I'd probably like to keep $5 there, so
Yeah,
that if
well,
we need to
sure.
transfer during the year.
How much was the trust fund?
The trust fund we get, how much we get a year out? I mean, we get
Well, we generally get
$15,000 a year,
I just didn't understand
and
how much money you were transferring.
well, 6,000.
6,000.
6,000, yes.
And that'll cover the recycling expenses?
Correct. Yeah. And there's more money in the trust fund than the 6,000. And,
Yes.
you know, there's a $3 tax, $3 ton, $3 per ton tax that we pay on solid waste, regular garbage. That goes into a pool of money down in Trenton, and then based on your recycling numbers, you get a portion of that back. You can't get any less back than the tax you paid. So, you know, if we paid $15,000 in tax, but we only would have gotten $13,000 with the recycling number, we'd still get the $15,000. We get our full tax back. Usually we get a little bit more than we pay out. Not much.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I asked Alan and asked Rugita under Finance Administration 20-1302. There was a line item in there for computer software for $7,200. I was asking if we could, between that and something else, find about $3,000 to reduce that budget. Alan, that was okay, right?
You were good with that?
We're good with that.
Which line are you on? I'm sorry.
20-1302.
Reduce for emergency?
It's going to be 3,000. And I was was gonna ask the same for 2014-52, but I don't want to check with Maureen Murphy to see if that's an issue. Because it's the tax collection. We'll have to hold that one for now. I'll throw it out there. We have, I know, as Jacob brought up last week, we have $10,000 for trees. So, based on the number of plantings that Shade Tree said they had encumbered from last year, is it prudent to keep it in this year? That's my thought.
And based on the numbers that we're still looking at, I can't say that it's prudent at this point.
Got a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Uh,
It's 26-3-22. Yeah, that's all I have.
Mayor, did you want to look at 21002, administrative and executive? At all? Or are you comfortable
No,
with the number?
I'm inclined to keep the money Alan put in there for the consultant to replace it, just in case we need
You
it.
think it'll be that?
I
mean, it was a
think
lot, that's what
I know, but that's what Alan had gotten the cost for, so.
I obtained that from one of the executive search firms down there.
I'd be more comfortable leaving it in just in case we.
I'm in the wrong line of business.
Sorry?
I'm in the wrong line of business.
Yeah.
You're just learning specs. Well, I knew that for a while.
Someone who charges every 3 minutes of their time? Come on.
It's 6 minutes.
Oh,
6 minutes.
I've seen 3 minutes on some. Yeah. Maybe that's me some work in charges. Can't even cough and get.
So you're even in the wrong line of business within your own business.
I know.
Oh, jeez.
3 minutes increments.
Yeah,
That sounds fantastic. I'd just be calling people all day.
that's how you do it. 3 hours every hour.
Is that ringtones or ringtones?
Exactly.
That's right, if that thing,
They have to pick up.
and look at it.
You don't have to make connections.
No.
Phone turns on.
Hold it.
as soon as I think of calling you, time starts.
Anything else?
I have a question about salary and wage. The budget, the subcommittee on personnel subcommittee, when they met, did they review the overtime specifically for the police department, and maybe also for the DPW?
We,
Because of the, staffing, my understanding is that the police is staffing.
yes, and that overtime was reset to what our regular amount is, 150.
Okay.
They accrued over 200 this year, but that had to do with some of the staffing issues. And the other year, when we were fully staffed, for the brief time we were on track to stay within that number, so we're bringing it back to that. DPW, the same thing, and we reduced that by $24,000 over the requested amount.
That was reviewed.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, the DPW was a significant increase over last year. That's why we looked a little closer. Police, we generally, the chief would rather have, say, 175 to 200 in there to be comfortable, but we try to make it work a little harder, to, get down to the 150. So,
And I understand his logic and the prudence on that, but the budget numbers are kind of difficult.
yes.
Mayor, did you want to look at 25-2402, police operating, since we're talking about police right now?
$25,242.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was that number?
25-2402,
Police
police
operating.
operating.
Was 133.7 last year. They spent 155.
Yeah.
And now they're requesting 147. I think there's
And there's,
There's 10,000 in there for tuition reimbursements,
yeah,
which I asked the chief in front of anybody who was partaking in now, and he said no. He said this is a line item that we've modified in the past, and he would be comfortable reducing that by 5,000, so.
What kind of reimbursements?
Tuition reimbursement, there's a contractual obligation to reimburse up to 5,000. And I said, as of now, nobody is scheduled for the first half of the year, and the chief said that, he thinks that if anybody does do it in the second half of the year, we'll be able to cover it, so he was comfortable with that reduction.
and it also includes, a vehicle purchase in the operating, which may, you know, I know it's one of those accounting things, but maybe better suited to a capital request as opposed to an operating.
Yeah, I think, I don't want to say it's the easy way, that is probably the easiest, because I don't know whether there's any more room in some of the other line items, based on what he was telling me. I don't know what your discussion was with him, but that's,
So you're saying we can take this down by 15,000?
we could take 21,000 out.
No, the cost of the vehicle was
There's
14.5,
21
I
in the
believe.
budget.
What's that?
It's 21 in the budget.
Yeah,
So that,
but I think the cost was like 14.
Yeah, I know, but the
I
budget's
know.
down, so you take 21 out. That's on the line item.
21 plus the 5.
Yes. And then we'd have to add
Right,
21
yeah.
to the capital, which would add 1,000 net difference.
So if you want to take the vehicle cost out of the operating and move that to capital, that would make it
That would be
right.
a vision. Help.
Yeah.
And we're okay with the vehicle being a line vehicle, not
It's not,
Yeah,
it's not a line vehicle that's being requested. I don't want to go into more, but, yeah, no.
You making
it seemed that this would probably be okay.
Yeah. So, I'd make that
I think
recommendation.
if the chief comes
I
and
think
speaks
I'm-
to us next
Could you
week, we'll come
recap
back
that,
and change
please?
it again.
It's
Sure,
line 51,
what's that?
line 51, 21,000, we're decreasing.
You have the backup, I think that's what the line item. Oh,
20.
Yeah, I have
24.
2402.
Right, that's the department number. So
Yeah.
police cars, 21,000 he had
21,000 would go,
into capital.
into capital. And come out of the operating.
We're also reducing another 5
And also reducing another 5,
from the tuition
the
reimbursement.
tuition reimbursement, so
Tuition.
26,000.
Let me just get that, let me see where you can say, oh, here it is. Yeah, all right, half of that 5,000
Yeah.
we're reducing.
I would second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I have a question on 221952, construction code. I know it's small amount, but I'm just wondering what that is.
I'm sorry, Darrell,
221952.
Hmm.
That's just really the operating budget for our code enforcers.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's their office supplies and license reimbursements, things like that.
All right, so last year they spent 1949 and they're requesting.
I didn't look at the
500.
backup. Gita had made a point to me on one of the other ones. I didn't realize that sometimes these things are every other year, so they may still keep the numbers in, but we can check that. I hadn't looked at that one specifically, so we could look at that and see if there's, I'm assuming there probably would be some room for reduction there. Even if you went back to last year's number. You know, if you
I
wanna make
mean,
that
it's not a
recommendation.
huge one, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
like you said, every dollar.
Yeah,
goes.
yeah. You want to make that motion, Council, do it.
So we just,
Could you recap the motion, please?
It's line 22-1952, construction code. Requested was 4,550. With a recommendation going back to last year's amount, which was 3,850.
So moved.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Well, the only thing I wanted to remind the mayor and council, and certainly they should justify the increase to you. They did say additional permit forms needed for the upcoming year, maintenance increase for the program, and additional supplies needed for the upcoming year. So that's what they're looking at with this increase. Now, I'd like to remind the council that this is one of those departments, there are very few, where the revenue is supposed to match their expenses. And we have had an excess of revenue in this department. So frankly, in my opinion, they are justified in this increase, not only because they've indicated what they're for, but because there is a state regulation that says that their revenue should meet their expenses. If it doesn't, then we're supposed to decrease our permit fees.
But the way I'm looking at it is, the $700 we're taking out, they only spent $1,900. So they already had a balance of almost $2,000 in there that they didn't use. That's why I thought it might be something.
I don't know whether it's just timing that they need it this year, they didn't need it last year, you know.
No, that's what I said. I don't know if that was, I didn't look at this one specifically, but.
So right now, I will go back to last year's number, but I wanted to be aware of the regulation.
Well, we can ask
as well,
Nicole, ask Mr. Burns if that's the case. If it's something like that, then we can reconsider it. If not, we'll let it stand.
All right.
Can we look at 263151, salary and wages vehicle?
That's a portion of the DPW salaries.
That's a portion of the salary?
Yeah, and I'll have to have a discussion about what the real number is.
Okay.
He knows the real number. I just can't get to it myself, and I'm just trying to, it's broken out into basically
it's
5 or
like a
6 parts.
9% unit.
Admittedly, it's convoluted.
Yeah, it is, because you have DPW regular, you have
Yep.
vehicles, building and grounds, parks, sewer, stormwater.
And we have portions of salaries, like the schools, we take portions of salaries and allocate one person, we split them in 3 different ways, depending on their functions. You know. So it gets difficult for me, as well as
Yeah,
everybody
it
else.
is, that's why at one point, you know, again, the next guy can do it. I said, we should have all the DPW accounts, at least all in order, so we can see them as a block on the form, because right now, excuse me, there's one on the first page, some on the second page, some on the third page, so unless you know what you're looking for, you know, it's hard to assemble it to see what the total is.
Is it a requirement that we maintain a separate budget for each department, including salary and wages from the DPW, portioning it back and forth? Or is
The
that
requirement that
something that we do for our own?
No, it's something we do for our own, but the state requirement that, the minimum requirement is that for each department, you have a salary and wage total and another expense total. And then when you get into the state document, for their reasons, they separate those numbers throughout the state document. But beyond that minimum breakdown, total salary and wages, total other expenses, then we can break down our reports into all these subsidiary accounts.
Is it important that we know how much of the DPW maintenance salaries are allocated to the fire department or the police department or the?
Well, that's what these detailed sheets, you know, will show you: police maintenance for the cars, fire vehicles, so yes, so.
Is that important to us? Is that important to the state? Are we making more work for ourselves?
It's important to the departments to be able to explain their services and the cost of their services, because when you make a reduction, and whether you make an across-the-board reduction or just a dollar amount to a particular line, what we've done in the past is, my recommendation has always been, go back to the department, see what their priorities are, let them come back to you and say, okay, you cut this department line by $5,000. Here are the services we can't provide next year. Here's the impact of the reduction, so that you have an understanding of what these cuts represent. So, you know, I think having that level of detail is important to the management of the department throughout the year, as well as the services that flow from what you provide.
And some of them are like bellwethers, so they know whether if certain categories are trending up or trending down, we might have to make adjustments. Like the maintenance, you know, some of the outside maintenance we do for certain vehicles is quite expensive. You know, the tree truck needs something, fire apparatus obviously needs certain inspections. Those are significant dollars that we can't do in-house. So those are gonna always be part of it. The regular maintenance we do, but then becomes one of these, ultimately a cost-benefit thing. If, you know, we found out the DPW mechanics were spending X amount of time on all the vehicles, and we still needed more, that would be a concern. Just the same way with the opposite.
Well, it is a bellwether for a outside department, outside of DPW, to say, well, I wanna send all my maintenance to certain outside contractor, and we can look at it, or you can look at it, and management can look at it and say, all right, we can do this much of it in-house at a reduced cost. If you didn't have that information, you may not be able to make that judgment.
Yes, and as a default, you know, the DPW does do all vehicle maintenance, the police vehicles
Right.
and the
I understand.
fire vehicles.
I'm just questioning the amount of detail you're doing, and.
The other issue,
something you wanna do.
I think the other issue John Lynch would bring up is that sometimes some of these line items specifically go under his budget, but usually it's somebody else's discretion who's sending you the thing. So like if he has, say, $15,000 in there for police car maintenance, and for whatever's happening in the police department, now they spend 30, the extra 15 has to come out of his operating budget. It doesn't come out of PD. So he'll say, you know, that's not correct either. So I think that's one of the management issues that he has to deal with. Because parks, you know, even some of the fire department stuff is embedded in his budget, where to me, it'd be better to keep it in their other budgets, because then those department heads would have a better handle on what they're spending on those line items.
Can he turn down work?
I guess he could, depending if he's got other priorities going on. Like if we're cleaning up after a big storm and they need to do something, I'm sure he could defer work.
But that's not.
No, and I don't think that's been an issue. I think,
Finance issue.
from what I've heard, or what I've been told, is that, you know, John is very good at, you know, he can keep the police vehicles on the schedule they want to stay on. I haven't heard any negatives from the fire department, so I think as far as the workflow and everything, he's okay with it. It's just, you know, I think we only have 2 full-time mechanics right now. Is that correct, Alan?
Yes.
And I think like warranty work and stuff like that goes out to, you know, like All American Ford, I think does a lot of our warranty work and stuff like that.
Again,
But routine maintenance is all DPW.
you know, are we spending more
I
money?
mean, we had the council person several years ago do an analysis on privatizing the maintenance, and it wasn't cost effective.
I don't know how extensively CAP codes are used or still used, but the coding actually did pinpoint and focus it on different areas. So I don't know if that's a way to address this as well, what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with all the accounting aspects of the way things are, but I don't, you know, John really has a good handle on his budget, so I never really have need to look into any more further than, you know, than what he tells me, because he's pretty accurate with what he provides.
On what, utilities? Sewer,
Is there anything other regular operating you want to look at?
32, 46, 52, just $58,000 increase from last year.
Which one? Oh, the landfill,
Yeah.
so into the utilities, okay.
Okay, I'm gonna start with that, I'm trying to get it up on the screen.
I'm gonna start with an easier one. The BCUA bill, Alan has a projected 6% increase. I'd say we knock that down to, you know, 2.5, because I know that BCUA's overall budget is going up 1.9. That doesn't mean that we're going up 1.9, because that's, they average it out over the county, so some people may see a little higher than that, some people may see a little lower than that, but I would think hopefully we'd be okay within the 2.5% mark. And Alan's smirking at me.
This is the wastewater?
Yes.
Yeah.
Could you repeat that there for my,
So right now you have a 6% projected increase.
Right.
You know, maybe we could start off by halving it to 3%.
What number was it?
3 above where you are, 31,452. Because this is just an estimate Alan has in there. And I agree with him that it's better to be conservative with them, but I think at least the last several years, their overall budgets they're not subject to the cap. And for years, they had been increases above, what the rest of us were paying. Last few years, they've been pretty good at keeping it to 2% or less, and we've seen that translate into the rates. So I'd be surprised if they had a 6% swing for us. That's, so he's got 3%, so half whatever his increase is, or,
I'll make the motion to reduce it to 3% from the 6.
so the 59 increase, we're talking about 29.5?
29,490.
Oh, 30.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? And obviously, if we get the bill next week and it's up, we can modify it. But, in fact, I would not be comfortable introducing the budget until we know the number. Alan, would you agree with that? That's our only wild card at this point. Every other budget has either been set by contract or, we've looked at it. This is the only one where we don't know yet. And like I said, it's a guessing game as to where it winds up. Sorry, Dario, I just wanted to, that was a straightforward one, which took a little longer than I wanted, so. So go back to,
Landfill.
yeah, 4652.
Yeah, we're on the landfill, and we have just the budget sheet up here.
You have the December number, right? But you have to add the December number in this number.
Well, yeah, this is, I recommended 278,000. Last year, the council reduced the recommendation back to 220,000. We did have an emergency of another $35,500 on top of that. We don't have a final expense figure right now. We have expenses of $222,770.42, and we have one bill that's still outstanding. The December landfill bill has not come in. We checked on that.
You had the tonnage for December though, did we? I thought you had that on your chart.
I probably have a projection on the chart, yeah. So, admittedly, it'll probably be something less than what we've indicated on the 278. I would just remind you that, you have to create a responsible budget here, and I don't know whether you can anticipate an increase based on the economy.
But I would say I'd say assuming,
So
I think you're right, the 30, what did you say?
35.5,
That's
it's a little high.
No, that's probably,
Well,
for December, that's probably going to be the highest. So.
if you went with the 222 plus 30,000, which is probably enough for December, then that brings you to 252.
Yeah, so
So
I'd go to
if you get to a number that's close to that, you're probably in the ballpark. I don't know if you want to think about growth from one year to the next at this point, but.
So 250, we can go to 260.
I'll make that motion, go to 260.
Yeah, we had some questions here.
Do we have to take into account the new building that's being built?
That's
something
in the
that's-
department line.
Yeah, that'll be under, right, Alan, you had given him an estimate.
Yeah, that's built into
That's in
our.
there. We have it in the other line, because the multifamilies have a choice. They can let the town provide the service, or they can do it themselves and ask for reimbursement, but they only get reimbursed equivalent to what our cost would have been to do it, which generally is very, very low. You might recall when we renegotiated with the Jordan Court across the street, snow plowing. When they bring a contractor in, he comes in when they want, he can really shovel the sidewalks, he put salt down, all that stuff, and they may pay $5,000 per storm. Nobody in town would get that service, so the equivalent of the 5,000 may be less than 1,000. So that's what they get reimbursed, and that's always an issue with multifamilies. But I think the other thing we need to look at with them is maybe doing some inspections on the recycling to see whether we're really getting the amounts we should be getting out of there. But, you know, that's,
Did you need a second? I
You second.
I seconded it?
motion, oh, sorry, Gus, yes,
Pretty sure
oh, could we finish, we're on this next line then. We're gonna finish this one.
So I made the motion to,
Wait, Al,
oh, sorry.
Alan, going back to your detail sheet, there was a $35,000 emergency, you said?
Yes,
And you got also December outstanding, which is about $30,000.
correct.
But that's-
35 was for
Yeah.
December.
But the emergency was actually anticipated, right? There was enough money in the current account to
To
have
be,
paid for
with
it.
all due respect,
I'm just
the
making the-
emergency was due to the fact that the council came up with their estimate, which was below my recommendation. And I guess this was the first year we experienced some extraordinary growth in that line, and I attributed it to the economy. So we had, we lowered our number significantly during the budget process, and then we got hit by some growth during the year.
So the detail sheet of 35 is December.
No,
Because you
that's
got-
just happened to be the amount of the emergency we calculated that we would
They're
need.
buying
You
new
got
stuff.
two numbers.
Yeah, but it's
You got
recycling.
35,000
It's in the
December
solid
On
one.
top of the, no, we don't have the bill yet for December, we don't know what that number
But
is.
you're anticipating that.
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
And you got a $35,000 emergency
well, that was to cover,
because of emergency.
But yes,
No,
that'll be in the
because
budget.
there's no money for
Raise that
December
this
still.
year. Yes, you're right, you have to raise that, if you're looking at it as deferred charge, that's one of those $188,000 emergencies that we have to raise this year.
so basically the 220 was enough for 11 months. It didn't cover December, and, yeah, that's
So
what it is.
you need 250 then.
Yes, so we're gonna go to
260.
that's-
Yeah,
that's-
it's 260.
260.
That's how you got that.
Yes.
Okay.
So I made the motion to reduce the line, 4652 from 278 to 260.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
18,000?
Okay, well, while we're talking about this, or while this is in play, I just suggest to the mayor and council that maybe they look at the recycling program and how it's distributed or how it's made known to the public.
Yeah, we've been
Trying to
Yeah, I would-
increase the recycling and decrease.
Our recycling rate has been pretty stagnant, but that's been the case statewide. And they're trying to rebrand, is a better word. Last year I had taken the recycling certification courses, so I'm now
Uh-huh.
recycling certified professional for Fort Lee. Doesn't mean anything, because we have outside recycling in Fort Lee, so as far as my job is, it's more just to maintain the paperwork. But the interesting thing that was coming up.
Gives us your expertise.
Yes, well, but what it talked about was, particularly was waste management, who's the biggest contractor in the solid waste business. They've been trying to rebrand it. And the issue that's happening is that it's not that people don't want to recycle. Sometimes they're not really sure what to recycle, so they recycle things that they shouldn't. And what happens is it contaminates, quote unquote, the lot. So it gets rejected by the processing plants, and it gets tripped to landfill anyway, and then we get billed for it in solid waste. So it's not a big of a problem with us. It's a huge problem with towns that go into what they call single stream, where you mix paper and all the other stuff together. But we have the issue too, and so going back to waste management, their campaign now is to brand it Recycle Right, and make it very, very clear that, people who are overzealous have to realize that some of those plastics they're putting in there are not recyclable. Shredded paper. People put shredded paper out, it's not recyclable. So those kind of things the public has to be made aware of. I think that.
But to your point, Al, the Environmental Commission, one of their priorities this year is to do public service announcements about recycling, and to try to get that message out and work with the schools to create those things. So that's a priority for them
I
this year.
just think that with the turnover in the town, there seems to be a lot more people that are coming in, they may not be aware of what the program
Yep.
is. And I've noticed that your solid waste has gone up
Yep.
over the past 3 years, and maybe that's a way to kind of mitigate some of this.
That is a
Yes.
priority for them, so.
But it's interesting because I had, one of the create teachers had asked me to come in John Lynch last year to talk about recycling to the class and talking to the kids. And the funny part is, they'll recycle their plastic water bottles, they keep the water in them. So, you know, there's like a mindset to it, and they found when they put
the water in it?
yeah, and when they found when they put recycling next to the garbage, it was just getting mixed up anyway. One of the things I had floated was that, you know, maybe they should have like a recycling monitor in the cafeteria, so maybe toward the end, the kid comes down rolling the recycling bucket, so he can collect all the stuff instead of people, you know, those kind of things, and those little bits will help. But, you know, schools are, they're not the best. I think it's harder logistically sometimes for them to recycle. They have less staff, and they may not have the space to have the separate facilities, so there is a lot of room for improvement on that, and certainly on the resident side. So John will tell you that, you know, it's a fraction of the bins that go out, which you would expect to go out, say on a paper day, especially, you know. So even though paper is not worth much in terms of recyclable, it can be heavy, so it costs us on the. And the other thing that's coming up before the legislation now is there's a big debate whether to declassify glass as a recyclable. It's very heavy. It has no market. It costs more to crush it and recycle it than it does to create it new. So that's the big debate within the recycling community. And the consensus is more towards delisting it. But
then it goes to garbage, right?
yeah, but it's yeah, but it's not it's costing us more on the recycling side. We're at a point now where recycling, we're hoping it's breaking even, and that's going to be analysis we're going to do this year because our garbage contract's coming up. So, you know, Alan had mentioned it, and I talked to John Lynch about it, that we really need to look at, you know, we have garbage truck, and I think we have, you know, 3 people dedicated 3 days a week to recycling. We have to look at the, you know, the cost of that versus the cost we're getting back in the recycling materials themselves, and we'll decide whether it's feasible to keep going forward. And I don't want anybody getting the impression I'm talking about getting rid of anybody at this point. That's not the intention. We would really redistribute the manpower, but and I would not want to get rid of the garbage trucks because that's something that you can always use. You know, you use it for leaves and for leaf too, so it's great for packing leaves, and you don't want to lose it because once you lose it, then you have to buy a new one.
I mean, a huge thing, obviously, you know, I'm sure the environment, I think I saw it in the notes, there's just composting as well, so, you know, food waste is a huge proportion of, the garbage collection, and it's, for the most part, you know, if you have, any type of garden or things like that, you can compost it, and it's amazing soil, I mean, it's amazing soil, people just don't think about it, but then
Princeton had tried a pilot program with doing food waste for residential. I think they got mixed results out of it, but I think it's something that people are inclined to.
I will say the Environmental Commission is really thinking about educating the residents about these types of things. So I think you're going to see a lot from them that will hopefully translate into
what a lot of the other, in most counties in New Jersey, it's the county who is basically responsible for all this recycling. They oversee the towns. In Bergen, we know it really doesn't work that way. The county doesn't give much oversight except the statutory requirements that they have to do. But I know Ocean County and Union County, they have recycling facilities and they have incinerators, so they're they get a lot more, I guess, more money to, for public education, and they've come up with more targeted kind of printed materials. Pictures, you know, people get crazy looking at trying to find the little number on a plastic thing, so if they have a picture, say, you know, these are things you can put in the bin, these are things you can't. And things like, it's a big one too, because I had gotten personally admonished by a friend of mine for throwing a pizza box in the garbage. But if there's any grease at all on that cardboard, it contaminates the load. So the answer is to throw it out, not to recycle. If there's any,
If there's
if
any
there's any food waste left on it,
whatsoever.
and that's what it's, so it's counterintuitive, right? People, so everybody says, oh, I'm gonna throw that out, I'm gonna recycle it, and then they put it in the bin, it gets dumped in, and the whole load can get rejected. So it's,
Containers, yeah.
Food containers, if they're
And
not
not
cleaned completely,
so those are the things I think the public has to understand, because it's not, it's counterintuitive a lot of times, so.
I don't know,
Right, yeah.
and I always try to recycle whatever, I'm very careful about that stuff, and.
Yeah, no, it's,
I have no idea.
that's what I mean, so that's, I think, you know, Ellen's right, that I'm sure the commission will take a lead, and that's what some of the money in the trust fund is.
yes, they're working quite a bit.
And Mayor, we hit to, we can go back to these utilities, so unless you want to have
Now,
more
let's
things
finish
on
up
your
the,
list.
let's finish up the utilities.
Okay, electric, I'll just, we did scan and send you some of this information, but the budget request is $250,000. We have paid to date $243,000 for last year. And Gita, I think you said there might be some small accounts that are still need to come in a little bit. So 250 as opposed to 243 and change. Want to leave it at 250? You want some other number?
So, right, yeah, I mean, I would, yeah, leave that to
We just don't know.
250.
Okay.
Increase the liability insurance, you know, only 102.
I think it was just, accounts got lumped together. Different accounts got lumped together into one, I believe.
What are we talking about?
Liability insurance?
123, 2102, and double.
It was split between two lines.
Yeah, we have it split between the library and the rest of the borough. The $13,000 is the library portion. We allocate some of the insurance lines to the library because the library is fully outside of our appropriation cap and outside of our levy cap. So
The last year wasn't the same.
you may be looking at a version of the position summary where I had not made the allocation yet. So maybe last year.
12,000 doesn't include the application for the library?
No, if you look at the line below it, 2104, that's the library liability insurance for the library, 13,602 this year as
So
opposed
actually,
to.
you're saying to left 24 and 23?
2102 and 2104 are the total liabilities portion of the insurance. And then we do the same with the workers' comp. We separate the workers' comp, we allocate to the library their portion, again, only because we're trying to keep those cap expenses away from us, since they're appropriate to the library. And we do that with utilities too. We break out the library utilities also to try and show them outside of the cap. Mayor, next on the telephone,
Yep.
we have 53,341. Our expenses to date are just about $54,000. So,
The only thing we're, obviously think we've had a rough rollout with our email system, so it's taking a little longer to get that to where we need it. So the website is still under construction. My third technical priority besides over TV then is getting a handle on our phone system. when you look at the amount of money we pay for long-distance calls, it's, you know, to this day, you know, nobody pays those kind of rates.
Were we calling long distance? Who's long distance?
I don't know what they're
Is
called.
that New York City? I mean, is that like any?
Trenton?
No, but I
Not
don't,
any-
well, I know that.
Anything outside of
But
205?
sometimes, no, but I had asked, this had come up once, and I asked the chief, because sometimes during investigations, they may need to call other states or whatever. But the point is that, why are we paying like the old
Yeah.
The old-
AT&T rates, you know, when you're getting charged per minute, and that's
I
what
didn't
we're
even
trying.
think long distance existed anymore.
That's what-
I mean,
yeah,
right? I mean,
well-
we all have cell phones.
Yeah. And again, you know, the way they do these things, God knows how much we would actually save, but at least it would be cleaner. And, you know, we have a lot of different vendors, it's just a lot of, kind of muddled, so.
I think I had mentioned at another meeting, if there's a way that we can do this cooperatively with either the schools or somebody else
Absolutely.
to get some economies of scale, we should consider that too.
Yeah, that's a good point, again, to have Stephanie contact the schools and see who their vendor was for their
Absolutely.
flyers. So, that's a good point.
Mayor, on the water, we have a budget of $33,000. We have expenses of about $22,600. So it may have reached the $33,000 level because maybe some years we had a drought, and then the following year we said we need more water to keep the plants alive, et cetera, and we kept increasing it. So, you know, I don't know why we have this large spread between the amount requested and what we've actually spent last year.
What was the number,
Yeah,
20?
This is our water account, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
no, but I know the number.
31,4462.
We spent 31?
4,462. 22,509, 22,600, you know, we spent. That's what we are anticipating.
So can we move it to 25? From 33 to 25?
We're still watering those.
Or 2750, you want to go a little higher?
We're supposed to be going, right?
Yeah, we're not gonna be watering the trees in the park, or in the
We're supposed
tree
to be
farm.
going.
Is this just usage, or is this also the surcharges for the hog there from Suez? The hydrants?
No,
No, it's different lines.
It's our separate
So
line.
this is just.
That's our water use.
Yes, watering the public properties,
Water for
sprinkler
buildings.
systems, you know.
Water.
Yes.
Yeah, sprinkler systems and things up front, you know, that's mostly where the expense comes from, is the sprinkler systems.
Make the motion to reduce that to 25,000.
Sorry.
You okay with that, Alan? Or you want to go a little
Are you okay with that?
25,000.
Okay. Or you want to go a little higher? We can go to
Do you want to go
27.
27 might give you a little leeway in case.
I'll modify the motion to
Who
27.
gave you 35?
That's the number.
This is a guesstimate.
Tradition, yeah.
Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Any other accounts?
Put rain barrels in the park. I have one of them somewhere.
There's one I'd like to revisit. Petroleum,
Yep.
31,4472.
Environmental.
Okay, I think let's bring us back to that. There it is, right here. Petroleum, we went from 95 down to 85 a couple of weeks ago. We expect our invoices to be, paid invoices, about $80,000 this year. And I'm just concerned with the price increase that we're seeing now. The average rate last year was $2.33. Right now, we're up to $2.67. It's about a 34% increase. So if you take that on the $80,000, you're really looking at a budget of $92,000 instead of the 85 as to where we're at. So, I mean, frankly, your guess is the gasoline and diesel prices and where they go this year.
So bring it up to 90?
I'd be more comfortable with any increase closer to the 92,000.
Make the motion to bring it to the 90.
I'm sorry.
Petroleum is definitely going up based on my business. It's going up, so.
I'll make the motion to go up to 90 then.
For a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Don't drive as much.
Yeah.
That's why the CFO has tenure, so I can bring bad news to you and not have to worry about my position. Okay, thank you for that.
Not heartless, Alan. We said we could totally take it out of your budget.
Yeah, out of my budget.
So you have to find that 10,000 elsewhere.
You want to take a break there? I can do a
Yeah,
tally on the
yeah.
adductions and the additions real
Real
quick.
quick, I need to leave at 10 o'clock, so it's 9:35, recess for 5.
Sure.
Right. In session, Alan, just double check the roll call, please.
Yes, Councilman Barloni,
Still here.
Councilman Bastide.
Here.
Councilman Kiningo,
Here.
Mayor Mignon.
Here. We don't want to lose our quorum again. The other night was pretty fun. Alan, you had a question on
Yeah,
that?
I had a question on 262902, the public repairs and maintenance.
That's the one we just took the 7,500 for the sand.
Oh, it is,
Yeah.
okay, very good, thank you.
Now, this is when Alan comes in and says, oh, I made a decimal point error on this one, you know.
Mayor, I'm smiling because for years, many years, I always tell my class, check the math, check the math. There is nothing more embarrassing than one of your elected officials pointing out an error that you might have made on your spreadsheet or on one of the calculations. So I'm smiling to myself because, you know, it's a lesson I need to learn and find the time to check over.
I wouldn't have brought it up in here, except I know it was going to affect that number.
No, but my philosophy is
Just to
always
tell you
been,
how- if I see anything
I
else, I-
appreciate the second set of eyes, I really do. So anybody who sees anything, please let me know, because there's nothing like having a second set of eyes to help you get things right.
You know, I've dealt with these kind of column numbers in my own job, and you become blind to them after a while, you know. Even now when I try to compare, like I'll take my version of the budget and your version, I'm trying to line to line, I mess up all the time, I get confused in the place, whatever, so it happens. So, any more operating, everybody just give the list one more perusal, and see if there's anything.
Did we go over your apartments? Do we have those numbers?
I think it's pretty close to what Alan.
Yeah, I have those departments if you need them.
No, if you tell me.
Yeah, we're right now, we're at 160,000, we budgeted 162 last year. So we will have spent almost everything.
What's the chance?
We're looking at 168, including the new apartment now. Will that be prorated? Yes. You know, so there might be a little bit extra in here, but we don't know
No.
what our
No,
costs
it's
will
fine.
be.
And they haven't picked the plan yet either. They haven't picked the plan yet.
They've actually asked the question about whether they would be eligible for this type of pay-or-provide service. You know, so they've asked, they're aware of it, you know, they've asked the question.
They're going to have us do it. I mean, they're gonna have it privately done, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
it'll be in the back.
It's gonna be too big. They're not gonna want people to drag all these cans out, and they have to come up to the street. So,
But would they centrally have a central?
yes, but there's no public roads in there, so they would have to, if the borough was to pick it up, they'd have to bring it to the street, like everybody else does.
Oh, okay.
So everybody, and, you know, that's always, we've talked about like, the apartments. Can you imagine if everybody had to bring out their barrel to the street, you know, it just wouldn't work. And I think that's, given the topography over there, I don't even know whether that's gonna be anything anybody wants to do.
Our contractor doesn't have one of these forklift trucks to pick up a big dumpster and dump it in.
They do, but they do that for here, they'll do it for the schools, but they're not gonna do it on a private property.
You need a top loader to do those,
Yeah.
as opposed to the residential, where you're putting it into the rear.
Did you want to go to capital now?
Yeah, just give one more look. The only thing I think we'll come back and revisit when we're done will be the RUT That fluctuates as we lower the budget, the rut lowers also, so we'll have to look at that when we wind up. So right now, we can probably say, Alan, actually go back to your spreadsheet, what does it tell us it is?
Yeah, I just want to see if, yeah, it has changed. You can see we're at 555,988. So with your changes, and I just plugged in one number, a negative number on our appropriation list to get to this. Now it's down to 554. So that will go automatic, will go into the mix, but it's not a significant change, but it is something.
Yeah, and that's something, we don't want to necessarily
Plugged in the changes here.
go too tight on it, but we'll revisit it, like I said. Back to capital.
What about the legal services line? I know we took it down already. I don't remember. It's, sorry, 21552.
Yeah, we brought it to 130, I think. We've been billing in the 120 range, so we probably would want to keep that a little bit extra. Something to watch for next year, see if it stays, the trend stays low, then maybe we can reduce it. Right now, let's look through the projects that we're bonding and see if there's anything that we want to do on those. So like the computer station for the council, I think that's something we do need. The copy machine, I think that's justified. Pump, sidewalks, that's an ADA issue. Community center, that's the lower number now, Alan? right?
That's the lower number
Okay.
now, taking out the $93,000.
Dugouts?
Yeah, I think we can, I mean, there's a lot of issues there, obviously, that have to be resolved first. Not the least of which is negotiating an agreement between the borough and the Board of Ed, and then hopefully, I don't know how long that's going to take, but hopefully maybe there's a way to look at the open space fund, and maybe rec might be willing to reprioritize the hockey rink versus,
meeting next week.
yeah. So at this point, I think we can take it out of capital
Is that a motion?
and make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, 3,000. Traffic, no. The other, those got to stay. Oh, we have to add the chief's car back.
Yeah.
Well, I put that in my 104,621 number. I have the down payment in, over here.
Yes, but
I
I mean,
will
we
put
have
it
to
back.
add it as a line
Yeah,
there.
we'll put it in here as a line.
That JEDVAC, is that something that can be broken into 2 years?
No, not at this point. We've actually had John defer that a couple times.
I'm not saying, but is it gonna take, is that one of those things that are gonna take a year to get?
Probably, but we can't order it unless we have the funds to cover it. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, it's a huge down payment. That's-
You can't commit another year, but
Forgive me if this was talked about before, but the community center, is all that money gonna go out this year, in this year's budget?
Yes, because we're gonna build it.
In this year?
That's the intent.
To go out to bid,
It's, yeah, well.
you have
we'll-
to have all the money available at the time you
Yeah.
go out to bid.
Fine.
Yeah, and we haven't borrowed that money yet, so it's just authorization now to borrow. And if the project fell through, it gets canceled, and there's no impact, although we had to put the money in for the down payment. We're all hoping that's not gonna be the case. Alan, do you remember you had talked about the sewer subcommittee recommendations. If I was understanding correctly, we have 150,000 for other projects allocated in the prior budgets, is that correct?
Yes, let me just get my tab here on that. Yeah, we have, we're recommending this $150,000. Of course, we had several projects we wanted to do. There is existing money, though, in another ordinance, about $125,000, I believe, which we had put together for some projects. So we have the 125 for projects and for emergencies. Usually in April, we experience sewer or storm collapses due to the Florida freeze cycle. So one of these emergencies could run anywhere, Mayor, you can correct me, $10,000 to $30,000, depending on the depth that it's at. The deeper you go, the more expensive it becomes. Plus the precautions and the equipment and everything that has to take place. So do you want to keep, $60,000 for one or two of those emergencies, and then the cost of doing these other projects around town?
This was a recommendation we had adopted from Alan. We would have done from the beginning, but obviously when budgets were extra tight, it wasn't possible. We started putting a little money in the budget every year for the sewer repairs, because what would happen now, we get an emergency, and you have a $100,000 sewer repair, now it's already in your next year's budget. We hadn't had that, at least in terms of sewers, because we've been able to put some, so.
So our engineer had provided estimates for some storm improvements for, let's see, Tenney Avenue. I'm sorry, it's the roads. I think the most important of which was Elm Avenue.
Yeah, that's culvert estimate.
That is the one that we really needed to address.
And there are a couple other little ones that we're.
Some other smaller ones.
And what was Costa's estimate on those two of like? Was it Dorchester, Manchester, one of those Chester ones, I think.
I think that's in correspondence.
Well, I guess.
I can find it in a minute.
Down where they
If
meet
we bring it, Elm is important. What happens if there's Elm and, I don't know if it's past 4 years, maybe Kensington to the next one. There's actually a culvert that goes under the street, so that drainage ditch that runs on the west side of Elm crosses under, and it goes to a little stream towards Oak. That culvert is in poor condition. It really needs to be, redone. And it's something we've been repairing the last couple of years, and it's something that.
That's culvert flows out.
Yes.
It's the transit. It moves it from the west side
Yes,
to the
yes.
east side.
Because essentially that's where the stream bed would have went probably for the road in, so. Just culvert where.
Okay, so.
So the question is whether we could take that 150, maybe knock
This
it down to 100.
150 that you have in here is for the ongoing projects.
Either or, because we had 150 in the other budgets already, so whatever came first.
The prior budget, what is that money for?
That was set aside for either the emergencies and or the projects.
That you have, the emergencies are 60,000 or so?
Yes.
That's
Well, if we've had, we always wind up with a couple every year. Since some of them, even the smallest one is still going to be 10 or 15,000 because there's an emergency contractor who has to come out, and it's always going to be a premium to get somebody out on an emergency. And if it's complicated by saying it's more than say 3 or 4 feet deep, and they got to go 8, 9, 10, 12 feet, like we do sometimes, or shoring it, yeah, it becomes very, very expensive. But I think we could probably take that 150 down to 100 this year and still have enough.
But that 150 was only for emergency.
No, it was contemplated used for the other projects too. What we were trying to do was package, because none of these projects are contiguous. So if we were able to take 3 or 4 smaller projects and make them into one bid, we would, you know, obviously probably save some money in terms of mobilization costs and you know, the time it takes to do them. So that was the intent. We never got around to doing that. That was what we're gonna hope to do this year. We get 3 or 4 of those projects done at the same time. That's what I was asking Alan, what the cost estimates were. Costa had given us estimates for them. Anyway, I think, you know, we can knock 50,000, which will take another $2,000 off.
Okay, it's on the sewer, it'll decrease at $50,000.
Yeah. It's 2,100 less.
20, decrease $2,500.
Now, let's look at the left column. These are all the pay-as-you-go, buy-now items. A total $42,000.
Can we go to the security cameras for the library? And just give you an idea if you want to think about it. You're planning on doing the rec center generally, it's going to be attached to or adjacent to or on the library. Would it be better to wait with the cameras until that project is finished, so we can cover the whole area? I mean, this project has been hanging around.
They're
for a number
internal
of years.
cameras.
Say again?
We talked about it last week, they're internal cameras.
Well, these are internal.
Yeah, there's a,
Would the other one, would you have internal and the other one too?
It's a
I'm
different,
just thinking.
it's not, it's
Is there a
Separate-
benefit to putting it all together, doing it all?
separate standalone buildings, so.
Okay.
yeah, because as of now, there'll be no reason for a contractor who's working on that to go to the library, so once you start adding
Okay, I'm just
extra.
giving you
Yeah.
a,
Yeah.
just an idea
Yeah.
of something.
Or we can use the other one. Have you heard about the other one? The security cameras that you have with it's based on motion, and they hooked up to the internet. They're like 400 and change with 2 cameras. We get it up on the website, and you have 5 cameras, and you have a buffer for 5 to 7 days. So every time you have a motion inside, it's going to activate, and it's going to shoot it out to the internet, and it's going to alert you. Alert somebody who has access to the account.
Is there some sort of statute or ordinance that requires a certain, I don't know, vendor to provide the cameras? Because to his point, I see, I mean, a Ring doorbell costs $200 and it has exactly
I
the
don't
same
know.
capabilities as what
Do
we're
they have
talking about
any
with security cameras.
Think so?
I don't know whether they have a system now.
I honestly
Whether they
don't.
have to- Maybe they have to run some wires.
Trying to
or
think
something, I
of
don't know.
Well, but that's
Right,
what I'm
look.
saying, right now there's wireless, I mean, we can get wireless
Yeah.
cameras everywhere.
And the question is whether, that might be under state contract, but, you know, this was based on a quote, I don't remember.
I don't even know how long ago it was at this point. It could have been several years.
But I
Well,
don't,
this is gonna be
you know,
inside, so it doesn't
for
matter.
the $300 in the budget, I'd leave the money in
I mean,
and
there's a lot
work
of-
with them to come up with an alternative.
But they're very good brand, they're very good stuff.
So this may be different type of security. This may be-
Well, yeah, I said, well, I would recommend we leave it in and we just work with the library to see if there is, you know, your liaison. You can ask them whether.
No, absolutely,
they
and I
can
think we
look
should
into
look at
whether
it,
there's,
but-
other,
Yeah, it's worth
accounts, but we're
exploring.
but we'll still earmark this because it's something they've been asking for. I think there is a need, there's been some issues, so.
Yeah,
This may
absolutely.
be more for child security than it is for that.
They've had.
I guess my question is, what are we getting for $5,700
Yep.
that we couldn't be getting for maybe $1,000 by buying one of these, you know, Netgear or,
Wireless system.
yeah, wireless
And that's
systems?
what,
And if there is a legitimate reason, then great, I mean, then, you know, that's fine, but.
In talking to some people about like security cameras and the wireless ones, there's some issues in terms of them being hackable, and also some of the manufacturers from China in particular,
yeah.
where there's backdoors already built in so that they can get into this, they can get into the system, through the back door that's in them, so. There's some issues with some wireless security cameras that we're not looking to use.
They just work only on motion.
No, I get it, I'm just saying.
The issues he's bringing up have nothing to do with how they get activated.
Yeah, there are terms of.
It's how they
Big.
can easily be turned off by outside entities.
Fees, yeah.
who want to do something.
Versus having
Well,
wire.
he's saying they can, and that's the issue that
Yeah.
they're worried about.
It's very difficult because you are on your IP address, and if they hack up your internet, then they can hack up everything. So that's the same issue with the internet.
But, you know, for like the mayor was saying, for what we're projecting right now, it's, you know, just let them explore it, and then if it comes in cheaper, awesome, you know.
I think we're running out of time. One thing I just want to, we can make a decision now on those other items.
Do we
They're
make a
adding
decision
up.
on the sort?
I'm sorry?
So we took
Oh, yeah,
it
we
by
took,
50.
Did we do it?
Do we make a motion or no?
I think we made a motion.
No, lower to by 50,000.
I made that motion. Is there anything we made?
Yes.
I'm sorry, what were we talking about?
Reducing the storm sewer improvements by 50,000, I don't think we voted on that.
No.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Looking at the list on the left, there's some things here which I think are probably more wants than needs. And again, where we are now, I think things like chairs and bulletin boards and desks need to all be tabled, no pun intended. So the bulletin board, 1,000, the chairs.
Are we doing them individually?
No, I'm asking, if anybody objects, we'll put them all together.
Okay.
No, go ahead. So the chairs, $800, computer table, $1,895, chairs for $506, $845. And the other thing I would suggest is maybe we can reduce our sign replacement from $7,500 maybe to $5,000 this year. So we get a little more savings there, because I think.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I'm losing you, $1,000,
It's about
$800.
So the $1,000 for the bulletin board, $800 for chairs, $1,895 computer table, 506 chairs, 845 chairs, and then reduce signs from 7,500 to 2,500. I think that gives us about 10,000.
And reduce these signs
From 75 to 5.
To 5.
75. 75 to 5.
I'll make that motion.
1,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And this one? It's 7,500. And of the 2,500. $13,000. Everything. So the CIF goes from 119, 506. So you said about 105 before Alan?
Yeah, 105. Want to use that round number.
118. 118. So we reduced about $31 in total today. So we're 168 minus 30. 138, which is the equivalent of $547,000 more. If we wanted to get, we're gonna have to adjourn now. So Alan, I think, when's our next meeting?
Next meeting is Tuesday at 6:30. Tuesday at 6:30, that is February 20th.
Tuesday the 20th?
Yes.
You said 6:30.
6:30.
Yes.
And we'll have all the numbers updated. Hopefully there's no surprises. Maybe we'll get a gift from DCUA by then. And we'll revisit the revenue side on Tuesday night. So, any other questions, comments for today? Are the citizens happy with what we were able to do today?
Yes.
No, I'm serious, I'm asking.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean-
You're asking.
All right, motion to adjourn? All in favor? Thank you, Alan, again.